everything we tried to put on her. I tell you, we've had a time with her all day. And she ain't took her nap yet. We've been trying to get her on that Wheeler Scott weather for several years now, but she's not made it before. But this morning, honey, she had us up and in here dressed at 6 o'clock this morning, just like a little old girl. And when her picture come on the television, you never seen anybody so proud. She's been on cloud nine ever since. Y'all are gonna stay for a birthday party, aren't you? Well, now we got to get her to take a nap before, so it won't take too terribly long with you. You see, she'll talk your ears off there. She gets tired right before you know it. And also, she's very deaf, but if you get right up in front of her and you talk loud and plainly, then she can understand you. All right, but I'll be right back. See anything y'all need? Okay.
Here we are. Look at that. Good evening.
Keep the little legs
Here we are.
up. Little foot down. There you go.
Ida, this is the young man I was telling you about, who's going to make movies of you and ask you questions. All right? We get her on the chair?
Oh, there you go. Up to Daisy. Yeah. Make your dress look pretty.
Yeah.
Get her big. Oh, I was excited. There you go. Yeah, sweet. All right, here, I'll get that. Ida. I'm gonna put this on her legs. Keep her legs warm.
Ida, now don't you tell him any of your jokes now. He's going to make you a movie star.
I'm already a movie star. Didn't you see me on TV this morning?
Yes, darling, of course we did, and of course you are. But this young man wants to know all about what you remember, so he can make a movie of your life, just like Greta Garbo. You be sweet to him now. We'll be just right outside if you need anything. An hour's about all the time she can take. Then she needs to take a nap, and we need to open the room back up for everybody else. You be good to him now. None of your jokes. Sorry.
Did you see me on TV this morning? Good. These girls treat me like I can't even go pee, which I can. They're sweet, but they get in your way, like I didn't have good sense, which I most likely don't. Now, who are you again? And you want to know what I remember. Are you coming to my party? It'll be a big time now, and if you like sitting around, which I don't. Now, I can remember a time when there wasn't much sitting around to be had, and I'd have given my eye teeth to done some of it then. We ain't never satisfied, are we? Like that little Norton salt girl used to say, when it rains, it pours. Trouble is, most times what you want to pour don't, and what you don't want to pour does, don't it now? That's life. Oh, dear. I don't like sitting around on no shelf. But I reckon I'm more like that gummy salt shaker now, so I just pretend like I ain't. But I can still go pee by myself. A lot of these old people can't. Makes them girls mad. I won't use their bedpan, but I won't never. Well, what's your name and what's your game? I'm 110 years old today, and you want to know what I remember. Honey, I remember more than I can say. It just sort of runs together, you know. You get old like me, you get addled, and you can't hold it together. It just runs together. Why, sometimes I bust out laughing. I ain't got nary idea what's funny. But I know something is. Maybe I just forget. Now, I do that now and again. Forget. That's how you're supposed to say it, ain't it? Forget. I'm trying to improve my speaking before I die. I figure them folks up in heaven ain't going to care how I talk, but it seems like you ought to speak more highfalutin when you're wearing wings. That was cute. Oh. Do I know you? You look like that fella come in here with Billy Sunday. You know his name? That fella would work for the coal company and drove him around all over. Sat right up there with him yesterday when he preached. Didn't you go down there? You never? Oh, well, why, of course. That wasn't yesterday. That was, let me see, 1921 or 1922. Was you even born yet? I bet you wasn't. Now, I remember what year it was because that's when I met my first, no, it was my second husband. Yes, he come a waltzing up to me down there in front of that town hall, what they built for Billy Sunday to preach in. And he said, now don't you believe a word of what he says. He's been hired by the bosses to run down the unions and ain't every bit of the word of God in what he says. And I told him, I said, you don't know nothing. Who do you think you are anyway, coming up to me talking like that, me standing here minding my own business at a revival and all? He said, you don't look like you need reviving. And he turned around and walked away before I could think of nothing smart to say back. Went on to stir things up, he did. And he looked over at me later and asked about me. Said, found out Charlie done run off and left me. Gone to Kentucky with another woman. Left me with 4 mouths to feed, Charlie did. Which is why I was working in that new hotel, cleaning rooms. Yes, the day after Charlie left, I saw in the Crawford's Weekly where they's a hiring for executive positions to meet the public. Opportunities for personal advancement with the South's newest, most certified modern hotel. No experience necessary. Complete training courses offered. Of course, I didn't think I needed no courses to clean no rooms. But you'd think I'd never seen a bed, much less heard of a sheet the way they acted. They treated us all like a bunch of rubes. Guess they thought we'd never seen a flush toilet neither. Of course I had. But I did like to flush them and watch that water go down when wasn't nobody looking. Which is what I was doing that day after that preaching. When you come into your room and snuck up behind me, I was standing there stewing about Joey, talking smart to me, you know, and grinning. And I imagined old Charlie down there in that toilet, going round and round and down. And then I'd stew some more and I'd flush old Charlie again. and you said, something wrong with the commode? Like to scared me to death. Thought it was brand new, which it was. You being the first ones to ever come into the Hotel Norton. You and Billy Sunday and all the rest of them. Oh, we all wanted to clean his room. But I didn't get to. I got to watch him sign that book down at the desk, though. They made such a big deal about that. But you know, after I heard him preach down there at the town hall, now, it wasn't a town hall then. They just built it for him to preach in. Biggest room I ever seen. I had to stand up in the back. I reckon they was intending for it to be the town hall when they built it anyhow, when after I heard him preach. I was glad I didn't have to clean his room. And being a big time evangelist and all, I didn't think it was right the way he talked about people. Now, I remember it word for word, because many's the time I recited it to my Joey and meant every word of it, even though I loved that Joey better than anything on this earth. Sometimes I'd say it just to tease him. I'd puff up like old Billy Sunday and I'd say, I'd point my finger. I cannot believe that God had anything to do with the creation of human buzzards, what are the UMWA organizers. Why, I'd rather be in hell with Cleopatra and John Wilkes Booth than to be on earth with the likes of such human lice. Why, if I was the Lord for about 15 minutes, I'd smack the bunch so hard, wouldn't be nothing left for the devil to take but a bunch of whiskers and a bad stink. Now, you know it wasn't right for a preacher to say such, even if you did bring him in here. Oh, of course you never. Now, what was I thinking? Why, I'm so old, I done lost what little sense I did have, and that wasn't much to start with. You wasn't even born yet, was you? Oh, but you do look like him. Whose boy are you? Not that I'd know. You're not his boy? No, I didn't figure you was. No, I didn't figure you was. Oh, well, I used to know a lot of people, but I don't no more. What little brain I got left's full up of dead people. Except for Popeye. Now, that's not really her name. I just call her that because her eyes pop. Popeye. She's the only one around here that's got any sense. She lives next door to me. Her room's next to mine. She used to live over on South Side. Popeye. Only one I can stand listening to around here. Yes, old Popeye. She and me's done about the same things in life. Oh, Popeye taught school some. I ain't never done that. Still, we know how to talk to one another. Used to be we couldn't. Things is different. But she says that her husband said, what worked over at Dorchester same time as mine, said that in the mines of working, they all treated one another the same because it didn't matter what color you was when you went in 5 minutes you's all black. And they had to depend on one another. Me and Popeye do that. But you got to watch her. When I'm not around, she likes to let on that she's as old as me, and she ain't. She just barely turned 106. But she can make you laugh if she's a mind to. But then she gets stubborn and she won't budge on things. Whew. Now, you know, Popeye wasn't born here. She was born way off in Alabama or one of them southern states down there. Come up here way back, though, on what she called transportation. Said they'd pay your way in here, but if you wanted out, it's tough turkey, because they near about owned you once they got you here. and she said she didn't want to go back down there, even though it did take some getting used to. Now, I wasn't born here neither. I was born over at Froggy Level. It's over there between Dorchester Junction and Needmore. They called it Froggy Level, I reckon, because it was a big, flat, swampy place that had a lot of frogs. Yes, it was loud. And they called Needmore, because the people over there needed more. Like the rest of us didn't. Oh, I reckon they did need more, at least why somebody thought so. Now, that is before there ever was a Dorchester. Can you believe that? Ain't there no more. Tore it all down. Last time my granddaughter carried me down there, like that shocked the pants off of me. Big fine town like that. And did we have us a ball team? Yes, sir, baseball now. Now, that's my favorite. I like to watch America's team, don't you? Yes. And did you ever notice how many of them boys was black boys? We never had none of them boys on our team. They did have their own teams now, black fellers, and we used to go down there and watch when them teams from West Virginia are there and would come in here to play. And we'd play all over West Virginia and Kentucky too, our boys did. I always didn't want to go, but I never. Unless it's to Appalachia or Coburn or somewhere like that. And I didn't get to go there till I was growed and married and had 2 babies. Now, I wanted to go places, but I didn't need to. Had everything a body could want, up between Dorchester and Norton. Now, that's a lie. I wanted to go off to college, but we never had one back then. They got that college now up there where the Poor Farm used to be, what come in with the Roosevelt administration. Did you know Miss Eleanor Roosevelt and me was bosom buddies? Leastwise, I did get to shake her hand when she come up to the Copper Kettle. They just built it a year before or so, and she come up there to have her lunch that day, and she was just as sweet as she could be. Big, tall, grand lady. And she come back there and said she wanted to thank me for cooking her lunch. Now, she never ate nothing but a sandwich, and I didn't fix that, but I reckon she thought I did. Because she went on thanking everybody else in the place, covering all her bases, I thought. But now, you know, it was sweet of her to do all that thanking, just in case. And I was filling in for my daughter there. She come down sick with a pellagra. Yes, that was awful bad. Did you ever have it? Well, thank your lucky stars. It was bad now, and back then seemed like near about everybody you run into for a while had had it. She got over it pretty good. Dr. Botts gave her some stuff and told her what to eat. She died 2 years later. TB, 1936. I guess she's just wore down, I reckon. And that TB bug, what was going around, really got her good. And she always was the one to get whatever there was to be had for anybody else. Thought we was going to lose her to the flu in 1928 when she was a senior in high school, and there was that terrible epidemic, what was so bad. I didn't think she'd make it. She come right up to death's door, knocked, turned around, walked away. And then Joey come down with it, and he didn't make it. Flora always thought I blamed her for giving that flu to my Joey, but now you know I never. And I told her so 1,000,000 times. Why, it is so bad. They had to make it a law that you couldn't have no public meetings nor nothing. And the coal mines like to close down. Now, that's likely where he got it. Because he nursed her for weeks and he never got sick. He worked the hoot owl and took care of her of a day for me. He's crazy about her, like he was about all my children. And she loved him and always did blame herself for Joey a-dying. It put a cloud over her, it did. And she hardly smiled at all till she got on at the Copper Kettle and got so excited. "Oh, Mama," she said, "we going to have a tea room and a dance hall, and all the cabins is going to be electric." And I said, "Well, la-ti-da. Hotel Norton had all that and more 10 years before. What's so special about a tea room? We had us a tap room. Just hope you ain't cleaning toilets when people are dancing and drinking their tea." "Oh, Mama," she said. But I could see she's excited, and I was for her. So I didn't say nothing else. She got that job because she did so well at that cooking school they had down there. I forget who had it, the government or somebody. And She knowed how to cook, but she went down there anyways, and that lady what run it took a shine to her and got her on with Mr. Absher before it opened up. And that's who run the copper kettle. Oh, Mama, she said, we is both in on the ground floor of the tourism industry. Which is why that tourism never amounted to much, if you ask me. Now, I hope that didn't hurt your feelings none. Me is saying that, now it didn't, did it? Well, Flora always held it against me that I got to shake Miss Eleanor Roosevelt's hand, and she never. What she wanted, she said, was for me to get her to write her name down. Said that's the least I could have done was to get her to write her name down. Well, I meant to, I said. But I got so flustered, wondering whether or not I ought to tell her that I never cooked or nothing, much less slapped no sandwich together. She went on thanking people before I could think to say, and I was just standing there with my mouth catching flies. And then I about bit my tongue off. I closed it so fast. Oh, Mama, she said that a lot. Well, honey, I'm sorry. And I was real sorry. I was then and I am to this day because it meant so much to her. Now, Joey got her into that collecting names. When he's 15 years old, down there at Little Italy, and Mother Jones come through, stirring up a union for herself, you know. And Joey got to following her around, I reckon, and she took a liking to him. Turned him into an organizer right then. He never got over it. Even though he did get on in Dorchester. Talked them into believing he changed his ways and wouldn't do no more organizing. And now that Joey, he was slick. He never did change his ways nor nothing. He always did keep on stirring things up, and he always did manage never to get caught. And he always said that Mother Jones was the greatest woman that ever lived. And he liked to quote what she said about Norton being here on account of the UMW strike of 1894. He said that Virginia coal kept the country's businesses going just long enough to force the miners and their families all across the country to the brink of starvation. Said Norton was built on blood money. And I told him, I said, it's built on Prince's Flats, and Snodgrass is Tanyard, and Anderson's Old Pottery Place, and the Hamilton's Place, and the Osborns, and the Frasers, and a lot of other folks. There's a lot of hard work is what it's built on. He'd grin at me and he'd say, I know that, Ida, but I'm talking about what's behind all that. Now, I never did know nothing about none of that, but I reckon Joey did. But he did have a hard time with old Mother Jones later on over there in West Virginia trying to figure out all that mess. But he did hold to her anyways. What was I talking about anyways? Oh, yes. Joey got her to write her name down for him. And you know, Joey couldn't even read then said. He learned how off from here. The union taught him so he could read a contract. Make sure nobody pull a fasting on him. Yes, he's just a boy then. When he's 15, he's 3 years younger than me. And that was 1902. And he got her to write her name down for him. Mary Harris Jones, Mother Jones. That's where she wrote it. And Flora pasted it into this book after Joey gave her all them names he had. He had them all in a shoebox mixed up with a lot of other things. And he had a whole bunch of them. All kinds of famous people with the Union and all. And he gave them all to her. I used to know who they were, but I don't know more. But there they all are. Can you read that? No. Oh, it ain't nobody good. Now that's old man Sammy Salyers. He's the first man who settled in Norton who stayed put. Come in following his daughter and her husband, though. And he got to be the oldest. I reckon he's 114 years old when he died. He's a friend of my mother's granddaddy. He's younger than Pappy, but he didn't die till 10 years after Pappy. I had where he had wrote his name down on something to give to Pappy, and when Joey saw it, he made such a big deal about it, I reckon because he's so old. Uncle Sammy was living up on Thacker's Branch when he died, and Pappy lived to be 111 years old. He was living with Mom and us when he died. He wasn't sick nor nothing, just old and mean. Now, he wasn't mean to me, but he was to near about everybody else. Like to drove us all crazy, especially Mama. Yes, he come to live with us after Mama's uncle died. And I was 10-year-old. And I like to listen to him talk and tell things more than the others, which is why he took a shine to me, I reckon. I don't believe I'd ever seen him before he come to live with us. And you know, he didn't change at all from that day till the day he said, Ida, get me my walking stick. I'm going down to Gardener's Mill. And I said, what? You know, he hardly moved at all. From the time he come to live with us, he laid in that bed by that fireplace, hollered for somebody to bring him the slop jar or something. And his bowels was locked up. And he had gas awful bad and made the awfulest noises you ever did hear. I'll never forget Christmas dinner before he died, as long as I live. And I hope to live longer than that old man. I just got a year to go, a year and something. I got to get one of the girls to go up to the graveyard and look up on his stone. He done bought it before he come to live with us, Mama said. Anyhow, I want them to look on his stone and see how many days past 111 he was, because I intend to beat him. He must have knowed when he was going to die, I figure, because he made such a big deal about all of Mama's people coming to our house for Christmas dinner, and he'd never done anything like that before. And Mama said there wasn't room, and she finally give in, and there we all was, just stuffed in there like sardines, trying to find some place to eat. Wasn't room at the table for half the men, and you couldn't go outside because it's cold as blazes. And Pappy said, Ida, I got to go. No matter that I was as big as the house by that time with Harry Lee, he always wanted me to wait on him. And I was glad to, even though it was hard getting around in there with all them people trying to eat, but I managed. And I thought he meant he had to pee, and I figured that wouldn't be too bad. And I leaned over and whispered to him. After I got that pot out from in under his bed, I said, Pappy, try to be real quiet. Remember, there's all these people here. And he gave me a dirty look, like he always did when he thought we was talking down to him. And he didn't say nothing, though. He just nodded, and I patted him and went on talking to somebody else and forgot about him. All of a sudden, he went to hollering, oh, Lord, it's a coming, and making the awfulest noises you ever did hear. Every now and then he'd holler, oh, Lord. Everybody was trying to pretend like they didn't hear nothing and trying to keep on eating. And some of them men had already started in on them 2 red devil cakes that Mama's sister brought. That's what she always brought. She learned how to make them after she's married. Married a fella from up at the courthouse named Dotson. And she wasn't a thing like Mama and the rest of them. She had heirs. But she's real sweet. And anyhow, she's making a big deal about cutting these cakes and passing them out so wouldn't nobody take too much. And there went Pappy. She didn't look up at all, leastwise, not that I could tell. She just kept on cutting. But she quit passing them out. And she kept cutting that cake into littler and littler pieces till there's nothing left to cut but a big old pile of gooey red and white cake crumbs. and everybody gotten real quiet, and they was all watching her to keep from looking at each other or Pappy, and she looked up and she saw everybody looking at her, and she seen what she'd done to her cake. And she's standing there holding that butcher knife, and she started to say something, and as soon as she opened her mouth, there went Pappy with a big one of his noises. And he said, oh, Lord. And one of the young'uns must have snickered, and tears come to her eyes. And she reared back, and we all thought she was going to throw that butcher knife hard as she could, but she never. She just sat right down there on the floor. And then somebody went and opened up the door. It had gotten smelling awful bad in there by then. And before you know it, everybody's out in the yard. Even though it was cold as it could be. Pappy hollered, Ida, come get this pot and close that door. It's cold in here. Trying to freeze me to death. And you know what? There wasn't nothing in that pot at all. Clean as a whistle. But there's plenty of food on them plates now. The hogs ate good that Christmas. Oh, nobody want to touch them cakes. Not even them pieces been cut right. There's only a bite or 2 out of them. And nobody wanted to have none of it later on either. Oh, Lord. Next day, Pappy was more talky than usual. Couldn't hardly get away from him at all, telling them old stories of his, one right after another. From hindsight, I reckon he wanted to get them out one last time so wouldn't none of us forget. Or maybe it's just because he done got all that gas off of him the day before and he was feeling better. Wanted to talk. Anyhow, he talked from early in the morning till late at night. And I'd heard most of them stories a million times before, but never all together like that. And the funny thing was, he started right at the beginning and went right on up like he's counting them off, right out of his noggin. He started in by saying as how his daddy had come into what is now Lee County, down around Rye Cove, back before the War for Independence with old Colonel Martin. And how they fought the Cherokee and the Shaughnessy, and how they got the Cherokee to give them Powell's Valley too when they got Kentucky bought from them. Said it was a special deal on account of they'd been so fair with the Injuns. And old Colonel Martin was married up with the chief's daughter or something like that. Anyhow, Pappy said a lot of those old fellers was married up with Cherokee women. And my grandmother was full-blood Cherokee. But now that wasn't until later on. Anyhow, said one night in the middle of the night, there's all kinds of commotion. Men outside hollering, and his daddy got his gun and left and went with them to kill old Chief Benji, where he'd raided a settlement over on the Holston and had carried off some white women. They was aiming for to waylay him on the trail up over High Knob. They knowed somehow that'd be the way he'd go, I reckon. 'Cause up in here was all Injun wilds then. And he figured for to get over into Kentucky and sell them women he'd stole and them slaves. Oh, Chief Benji. Pappy said he's the son of a white woman and a Cherokee brave what had rescued her from where she'd been captured by the Shaughnessy. But she run away from them Cherokee when Benji was about 9 years old. She headed out with him from those towns down around where Kingsport is now. Headed out with little Benji back to her people up in Wythe County. Somewhere along the line, she got herself sick, fell ill with a fever, and little Benji, he gathered her some herbs, and he brewed her a tea, and he made her well again, and they did get back to her people. And Benji went to school, and he did real well. Seemed like he's smarter and stronger than the rest of them boys, but he never did fit in with the white race. No, when he was 13 years old, his mother died and he run away back down to them Cherokee towns. And he grew up to be big and strong and to hate the white race, the white part of him. You see, he done fell in with some of them Injuns what hadn't agreed to selling off his country and had got to be their chief and was a-raiding over on the Holston all the time trying to run him off. And then he come up here to this county. Of course, it wasn't a county then. And he built him a stone fort up on Black Mountain. And then he'd raid over on the Holston and the Clinch. Oh, Lord, yes, everybody was afraid of him. Yes. But old Benji wasn't worried about nothing once he crossed over the Clinch. Come up over High Knob, 'cause there wasn't no whites down in here then. Oh, now there's Melungeons. But this here was Benji's roost, all right. And Melungeons and Ingerns, Ingerns, that's what Pappy called Injuns. Melungeons and Ingerns didn't bother one another. Oh, they had been some whites what had tried to settle in here sometime before that. But they didn't last long. Now that fella Prince, what they named Prince's Flats after, he was their leader. And they come in here and they built them a little cabin fort at the foot of High Knob. But after he died, they got scared and they went back over there to them settlements on the Holston. He died, they said, from eating too many chestnuts up on Gis River somewhere. I never believed that story. You'd have to eat a lot of chestnuts now to kill you. There used to be a lot of them around here before they died out. Back before the Second World War, that's true. Yes, when I was little, sometimes that's nigh about all we lived on. And later on, they'd have these big shindigs up there on Chestnut Flats, you know. Yes, everybody from down in town would go up there and they'd be gathering them chestnuts and roasting them and eating them fast as you can say squat. And I never heard of that happening to nobody else. Well, maybe he eat them raw and they swole up on him. I don't know. I reckon the body could founder on anything. I've had his grave pointed out to me up there on the river. Said before he died, Prince was so thirsty, he wrote a note on the bark of a tree saying how he wanted to be buried close to the river as he could get. And whoever found him buried him right down there. Leastwise, that's what they say. That's the story they tell. And he died. That he's way off from the cabin hunting ginseng or Swift Silver Mine 1. Now I figure that's what brought him in here in the first place. He built them that little cabin fort. There where Charlie Connors' house is now. where there'd been an Indian settlement on the trail over the mountain, coming over from Clinch's River on over onto the Pound and on over into Kentucky, and them fellers was up to something. I think they's looking for that silver. And he died. That's what brought Pappy in here later on, said. And I think that's what Prince is up to. Well, I reckon the body could founder on just about anything. I'm about to founder on this stuff they bring me in here to eat. It ain't real food. They won't let me have the salt. And they try to make me eat green beans, what been cooked without no fat back. And it's that food's gonna kill me. For I live longer than Pappy. And if I don't make it, I will come back and haunt them girls. That's what I tell them, and tickles them to death. I swell up like old Billy Sunday, and I say, if I was the Lord for about 15 minutes, I'd turn you into a pillar of salt, and maybe I could make this food taste halfway like it oughta. Tickles them girls to death. And then I give them that dirty look like Pappy always gave us, and they laugh all the more. I don't think them girls have the least notion that I mean it sometimes. But now you know I'd never do that. Oh, Lord, I had to go pray over that whenever I'd mean it, and suppose I was to die meaning it. Well, leave me to rot in hell. Then I wouldn't get no wings, would I? No, sir, I'd be down there with all them little devils. Oh, Lord. Well, Pappy always said that Snodgrass's mill was haunted. Do you believe in hands? Well, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But most time I do. Most folks is used to. They don't so many anymore, and maybe that's what makes young people not so respectful like they used to be. Used to be, you'd be afeard to do wrong, because if you was to not act right, there'd be a hand watching you and come and get you in the middle of the night. And that's what I believed. And it kept me from being mean many a time, like I wanted to be. Yes, Pappy said Snodgrass's mill was haunted. Said there was a headless horseman or some such would gallop by there of a night after you, and got so hardly wouldn't nobody go by there of a night, much less of a day to get their corn ground. Pappy said, oh man, Snodgrass put it out that it's just the sand of the mill. That water, you know, slapping against the side of the mill as it went over the wheel. And it just sounded like a horse a-galloping. But Pappy didn't believe that. Of course, now Pappy liked ants. He said it was from where there'd been this murder, and they cut this feller's head off and throwed it in, over in that big vat, what they use for to cure hides over at Snodgrass's Tanyard. See, that Tanyard was right next to the mill, right there where that English feller built them glass houses for to grow flowers in. Greenhouses is what they're called. Greenhouses of Norton Floral Company. And you know what? That English feller's name was Horseman. I always did think that is odd. Him, that being his name, and him building them glass houses right over where that other headless horseman rode so many times. I don't reckon he ever did find that head. Leastwise, he never said. And I don't reckon he did, if it was there at all. And he lived right there. But I never did hear nobody say nothing more about that hand. Maybe it went on and rode somewhere else after another horseman come in there. Mr. Horseman. He was real nice to everybody. Leastwise, he was to me. He let me go in there and Look at them flowers growing whenever I was going by. Saw me looking in one day and asked me to come on in, even though he knowed I couldn't buy nothing. But now Charlie bought me an orchid from down there when we was married, 1908, right after they built that place. Most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And I kept it. Even after Charlie run off to Kentucky with that other woman, I kept that dried up flower. I don't know whatever happened to it. I don't know. I kept it right here in my book, right with my autograph book, and one day it's just gone. Strange how things just slip away, ain't it? My autograph book was here, but it is just gone. Maybe Charlie snuck in and stole it in the middle of the night. Except I think he's dead by then. But maybe he did anyways. If ever was going to be a hand, it would have been Charlie. But he didn't get my autograph book. No, sir. I don't go nowhere without it. Not since that Kentucky woman or Charlie's been stealing in the middle of the night, taking my things. My chair. Santa Claus. DEC, 1915. Merry Christmas. That's from when they brought Santa Claus to town, and he give out presents and candy and stuff to all the children. And I reckon Flora kept what hers was wrapped up in. And who is that? No, I don't know. That's somebody. March 5, 1934. Lowell Thomas. Now, he was real famous back then. That's from when he come in here with all his radio people, and he sit up and talked to folks all across the country from right down there at the Hotel Norton. Yes, sir. And there's Charles Fuller, Mayor, Press Atkins, and Bruce Crawford. They talked on his show, too. They ran the newspapers. And the Kiwanis Club boys. Yes. They sang the Trail of the Lonesome Pine. That was real nice. Oh, it made me so proud to think of all of those people all across the country listening to us down here. I don't know why, but it did. I went next door and heard it on the radio. We didn't have one. But Flora now, she went down there where they had it hooked up so you could hear it outside. And then she got in there somehow and got all of them to sign their names. Then she went over to the Baptist church and she listened to him preach. I don't reckon Noel Thomas was preaching there, was he? I guess he just talked. But anyway, she was so excited. I never seen her so happy. Working at the copper kettle and all, and then she got sick, and I never got Miss Eleanor Roosevelt to write her name down like I was supposed to. Who are all these people? These are the singers now. What come in with the Grand Ole Opry. Yes, when it come to the Bowling Theater in 1935. That was the year boys got arrested on account of them birds. Well, I don't know where Flora got the money to go to that show. Swimming pool dedication, July 4, 1935. Well, I guess that's the governor's signing from when he come down here. Oh, I guess Roscoe, one of the boys, got that because Flora wouldn't gone down there. I know that. And this here is a letter from that Maxwell girl from up at the pound. What killed her daddy, they said. And there was so much stinking, all them reporters and all coming in here from everywhere. And Flora had met her somewhere and wrote her a letter saying as how she didn't think it was right them putting in the paper what that Fred Greer, the prosecuting attorney, was saying about her. And she wrote Flora back and thanked her. She got pardoned later on, I believe. Well, there's Santa Claus again. 1935. Well, they brought Santa Claus in that year in an airplane. He come down in a parachute, down on the ball field. That was cute. Well, that was Flora's last one. I kept it up for her after that. For her and Joey, it didn't mean nothing to me, but it meant so much to them. But it does now, because I can look back and I can say I done something. It's the only thing I ever done that I still got. Oh, there's Glenn Roberts. What was such a big basketball star, and all them boys on the Norton basketball team would won the state championship after the war. And there's Roy Rogers' autograph from when he come down to the theater in 1952. And that little midget bellboy, what was on TV back then, calling for Philip Morris. And Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs, I love them boys. And there's Oliver Powers. He's a daddy of Francis Gary Powers, that fella that got shot down over Russia, and all them fellers went over there for his trial. They was on television and everything. And oh, there's all them bearded beauties. Now there's Elizabeth Taylor. And that fella, what she married, that was running for office. Roscoe's girl carried me the big stone to get that. She didn't think I'd get her to sign, but now I was already old, and I reckon she's afraid not to, because she's real sweet. Just acted real sweet and signed her name, and then she went in there and got that bone stuck in her throat. From eating too fast, they said. I hope it wasn't my fault. And there's that movie star. Yes, what played Loretta Lynn in that movie. 1980. That was my last one, 14 years ago. I was 96 years old. I always been good with numbers. Couldn't nobody beat me at school or much sense. I can still add and subtract quick as you could say squat, but now my multiplication and dividing tables ain't what they used to be. Go ahead, ask me some numbers if you think I was lying. Now, that is the sin of pride, ain't it? No, you better not. Might cause me to rot in hell. Oh, Lord. Be awful if I was to die showing off like that. You know, I'm so old I might die any minute now. But you know what? I wouldn't mind so much if I thought Joey would be down there. I always did have me a sneaking suspicion Joey wouldn't be wearing wings, if you know what I mean. Joey, see, he's Catholic and not a very good one at that. And I figured that'd be 2 strikes against him on getting into heaven department. And he's awful bad to cuss. But he was the kindest, most gentle, sweetest man I ever did know. And so I'm counting on him to find some kind of a loophole to get in up there. He's just 42 years old when he died. He's just a boy, really. I always told everybody he was older than me, but it was a lie. But it seemed like he got older than me later on after we got married. He took care of me and my children. He acted like a daddy to us all. He took such an interest in my children and me. But then Joey took an interest in everything. Seemed like he's always on the go. Joey was trying to get things done, and he could too. Like the way he got Harry Lee into that college over in Kentucky. Oh, what's the name of it? You know, Lord, I know it as well as I know my own name. Elsa Swan makes you mad enough to spit snakes, don't it? I told you I didn't have no sense, didn't I? Now I can't think of my own name. Ida. Ida's my name. What's yours? Union College. I told you I remembered it because I know my own name. Union College, that's what they called it. That's where Harry Lee went to college. Harry Lee was a lot older than the rest of my children. Joey's children, Charlie's children, Mikey and Mikey. That was Joey and my boy. He died in the war. He wasn't but 18, and he went in when he was 17. I begged him not to go, and I told him I was going to go down to that enlistment office, and I was going to tell him that he was only 17 and he was too young and they couldn't take him. And he said he'd just go off somewhere else and do it all over again if I was to do that. So he done made up his mind. And he would have too. He was determined. All them boys joining up that fall before the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor. Jeff and all his buddies. And Mike is always so crazy about Jeff. And Roscoe too. Well, I told him Roscoe wasn't joining. Roscoe got drafted later on. Yes, he got wounded, and a few months after Mikey died, and he come home, and I just never could talk him out of it. Roscoe's not me, Mama, he said. If he wants to keep driving that big Buick of his like he does and hanging around with them fellers over at the pound, the law's going to get him any day, and that's just his business. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, nothing, Mama. I don't mean nothing. It's just he drives so fast that he's liable to get arrested again. Oh, Lord. Liable to get arrested again, he said. I declare. You know, that's the way little Charlie died. Got involved with moonshiners. Got shot down there on Park Avenue. In that big shootout where that deputy sheriff was killed and that feller and his boy from over in Kentucky was too. Well, little Charlie got in the middle of it somehow and got shot in the shoulder. Nobody knowed he was shot, at least wise the police didn't, but he got out of there, and by the time he come home, he's real sick. Where these friends of his had tried to get that bullet out of his shoulder and he got infected. And by the time I got a doctor to him, it was too late, and blood poisoning done set in, and he died New Year's Eve. That shooting took place back before Thanksgiving, and he died right before New Year's. 1932 was a hard year, and I was glad it's over, so couldn't nothing else go wrong. I never thought one of mine would be involved in nothing like that. It like to kill me when I found out that he was involved in that shooting. And then when he died, I like to died. I thought I couldn't take it. When I first heard the news about that shooting, and I heard them fellers had been shot, and I didn't know that little Charlie was involved in it or nothing. I thank the Lord He'd made it that I never had to see it. Like I had so many other times. I said to myself, well, if the main streets of Norton are going to turn back into a shooting gallery, at least this time I won't have to watch. Ever since I was little, I seen more than my share. When I was 7 years old, I seen the first policeman in Norton shot and killed. Yes, we was coming back from Wise Courthouse, visiting Mama's sister, and they decided to stop and do some trading at Frazier's store. Now, that was down there where all the big buildings of Norton used to be. Down there where the Royal Laundry is now. Is that still down there? Or, anyway, going over toward West Norton. And that was where the trains would stop when they first come in, down there in front of the Central Hotel. That was the first hotel, and we went there to watch. And there was all these saloons down there. And while we was waiting on our mother and father, I was trying to figure out what this sign meant. There was a saloon called the Headlight Saloon. Now, I could read, but I didn't know what a headlight was. I thought it was a halo of some kind. And we heard this commotion, and we looked down on the banks of the railroad track, and we seen this man shoot this other man, and it is Tout Hall. And the policeman's name when he shot was Hilton. Shot him right there, and we watched him do it. Now, we didn't know it was Tout Hall. And we wasn't scared or nothing because we were so far away, but I reckon none of us little uns knowed till later on what had really happened, and then we was scared to death. Of course, we all knew who Tout Hall was. He was famous for killing people, and they hung him for that murder later on. First man to be hung in this county, and I watched him do the killing. And I was proud of it then, I am ashamed to say. When I was 11 years old, I seen the mayor of Norton gunned down on Park Avenue, Mr. Bill Jenkins. First mayor Norton ever had. He got in some kind of an argument with a land buyer or detective or something, and that fella shot him right there in the street. And I tell you, that changed my tune. A girlfriend and me was coming home from school up there on 10th Street, and we decided we'd go down and watch him use the telephone. Now, that was real exciting for us, and we wasn't supposed to do it, but come straight home over the hill to Dorchester. We decided we'd go down there anyways, and wasn't nobody using the telephone, so we decided we'd go on down and look at that big water fountain they had down there around 6th Street, and we was trying to hurry, and we come right up on these men arguing. And this man pulled his gun and shot Mr. Bill Jenkins dead right there, and us in spitting distance. It is awful. I had nightmares for years about that. It's a wonder he didn't kill us. But I reckon he never did see us. Oh, Lord, and we had to testify to the police and all, and I got in a lot of trouble over being down there in the first place. Mommy whooped me good. Then when I was 20, and Charlie's trying to court me. Oh, he tried for years till I finally give in, and Harley was 2 or 3, and I wasn't interested in no man at all. Some several years after that I let Charlie talk me into marrying him. Anyhow, I had agreed to go on a date. And Charlie come got me, and little Harry Lee took us to that new restaurant they'd built, where they built the National Bank at later on. Little Charlie worked on building that bank later on, and I thought it was a bad sign on account of what we'd seen down there. Oh, it was a bloody place. We were supposed to go to the town hall to see a picture show. This was some 10 years before they had built that lyric theater. I'd never seen one, you see, and they showed these picture shows at the old town hall. And it wasn't the old town hall then. It was they had just built it after that fire. What burned down nearly everything downtown, you know? When was that? 18 something another. When did that fire? 1897. And then they built another one, and it burnt down. The one before they built for Billy Sunday to preach in, and then it burnt down. And they said when it burned, the copperheads just poured out from in under there. And everybody's trying to kill them. Lord, Lord. You know, come to think of it, seemed like back then, near about everything around here was burning. What were them coke ovens a-going, and the sky'd be red, and them big old red dog piles a-smoking like the ground itself is on fire. And dirty, you couldn't touch nothing. Oh. What was I talking about before I started talking about house cleaning? Oh, yes. We never got to see that movie because Charlie wanted to take us to dinner at that restaurant before. He was always trying to show off like he's a big spender, and there we was. Charlie trying to impress us, and in walks this man with a shotgun and yells, "Dollar hide." The man sitting there eating, he put that shotgun right in that man's face and pulled both barrels, walked away, left that man laying there in that pool of blood without no face. Worst thing I'd ever seen. Charlie took us home then. And I should have known right then that Charlie was bad news, like Mikey used to say. But you don't know, do you? No, you don't never know. All of mine and Charlie's children died young. Yes, Jeff died in a car wreck after he come home from the war. Oh, he was wild when he come back. Driving that old Buick of Roscoe's, coming home from the Copper Kettle. And Roscoe's the only one left to turn out. And he's the last one I thought would turn out because he's always into so much meanness. But you know, after he got wounded in the war in 42, he come home and he went to work for Esser Coal Company for a while till they had that strike. All the miners went on strike, fighting the war regulations in the company, I reckon. Anyways, after that strike, he went to work for a lady, working the mine in the basement of her house here in Norton. War controls were just as bad there. But Roscoe said he wanted to do his part, and we all did. Knitting for the war relief. Gathering them milk pods to make them life jackets, and yes, and collecting scrap metal and all. And after the war, Roscoe went into the building business, and he made money and moved off up to Falls Church in 1952. And he died in 1980, same year as Frank. He died of a heart attack. Frank died of a heart attack too. Frank was my last husband. I met him when I was cooking at the Steak and Shake. And he's driving a delivery truck for Clinchhaven Farms, delivering milk, yeah. Oh, he didn't usually deliver to us, but he delivered door to door of a morning, and he got switched and come in there and brought the milk and wanted to buy a Coke and commenced to complaining about how Cokes is going up to 6 cents and the price of a postage stamp was going up to 4 and has all President Eisenhower's fault. And I listened to it about as long as I could stand it, and I said, well, if it's got so bad, I might as well buy one last fella a drink before the end of the world. And I pulled a nickel out of my pocket, and I rung open that cash register real big, and I said, dropping that nickel in, I said, sides, our Cokes is still a nickel. Some things is still a bargain. And he said, as the way I shoved that drawer shut real easy, watching my nickel disappear made him fall in love with me. And you know, he wasn't but a year older than Harry Lee. We made a good match, though. We was married 25 years when he died. Yes, the only thing Frank ever denied me. He did real good, you know. He come into some property up on Guess River, and he quit his job at Clinchhaven Farms in 1968 and went to mining that property, and he done good. And the only thing he denied me was when he took them big coal trucks of his up to Washington, D.C. fighting them strip mining laws. 1975. And I wanted to go so bad, and he wouldn't hear of it. He would have taken me later on just to go, but we never got around to it. But Frank was good to me. He took care of me and provided for me, and his girls still do. And one of Roscoe's girls has moved back down here. She moved down here after her daddy died, and she's good to come by. And Hurley's boy writes me letters. Now, Hurley left here in 1935. Yes, they cut the teachers' pay back by about half and laid everybody off a month early because they didn't have no money to pay them. And he went off there to Washington State, and he got married and got himself a job, and he never come back. I always said he would next year, but he never did. He used to write me letters and send me money, but he never come back, and he died in the 50s, and his wife married somebody else. But they had one boy. And he called me up several years ago and said he was going to come see me. But he never has. And he used to call me all the time. And then his voice started giving out, it seemed like, and he couldn't carry on a conversation on the telephone. And he quit calling. But he still writes me letters, and he still says he's going to come see me. But he better hurry up. Maybe he saw me on TV this morning and he's coming to my party. You ain't him, are you? No, I got his picture. You don't look nothing like him, I don't think. But you do look like somebody. You ain't that fella that come in here with Billy Sunday? What scared me so bad the day I met...
Are we having a good time?
We are. I don't know about you.
It's time for her nap. I've let her go past already. It's time for your nap, and you do want to look pretty for your party, don't you? You've got to get your beauty rest, you know.
Well, I'm just starting.
I know you are, dear, but this young man has to go. We need to get the room ready for your party. Tell him one last quick bit of your wisdom, then we really must go.
I can't think of nothing quick. Are you coming to my party? You could bring Billy Sunday if you want to. Okay, let's go. I got to pee. I forgot. Oh.
Oh, get you. You got her. Yeah. Oh, Lord, what's wrong?
Are you okay? Ida, are you okay?
I just thought of something. Other day on my earphones on WNVA, I heard this girl sing a song, and it went, them that know that they know. And them that don't know that they don't know. And I thought about that, and I thought about how I ain't never been nowhere but right here. And ain't never done nothing but keep this here little book. And maybe I don't know what I don't know. But I know this. I couldn't stand no more knowing than what I do. Or no more living than what I had right here. How about that, Billy Sunday? I got to get my beauty rest. I got another year to go to beat that old man. I'll see you in the funny papers. Whose boy are you? Oh, hurry up. I got to go so bad I can hardly stand it.